let's jump to the second item, smart door locks, and I'll turn this over to Ben to talk about this item.
Yeah, I know a little bit about smart
A
door
little bit.
locks. Hey, so before we jump into smart door locks, I thought maybe just talk a little bit about why people have some angst even about getting into some of the tech stuff, right? So justifying the cost of some of this technology, the training, like when you hear smart door locks, like, am I going to be able to manage that, right? What's involved? Is it going to bog down all of my employees? And I think the answer to that is a simple no, right? Like it's going to help your business and it's going to reduce your Opex. So what are smart locks, right? We've got what we call dumb locks, which are like just regular mechanical locks. They use a key. You have standalone electronic locks, which you can type your code in. But that's not a smart lock. A smart lock in our space, especially multifamily, has to be connected to a system. It either needs to be connected to an app. It could be a standalone app. It could be a full ecosystem. But it has to be connected into something bigger so that you're getting more out of the experience, right? So when you're talking about smart locks on properties, where are you getting the Opex savings from? So if you're an operator, you're able to track what's going on the property. Where are people going? How can you tie that back into utilities and reduce your spend there? If you have things that need to get done on the property, you can provide access, speeds up the process. You're freeing up your employees to do other more important things. If you're looking at the user experience from a tenant perspective, they're touching that every day. That's the number one thing from a technology standpoint that they're going to interact with. And it makes it a more sticky experience for that customer. They're more likely to want to stay in that property and reduce the vacancy time, right? That's a huge Opex area of savings is vacancy. And then lastly, I'd be remiss to not talk about the self-guided tours. So we can get into that more in depth, in the conversation if we want to, but that is a massive saver for Opex, right? The people want to be able to tour at their own pace, their own times. People are more willing to pay. I think we heard on the panel yesterday, it's like $100 more per month for some of these experiences. That's huge, right? It's huge, and it just creates a better environment overall for both the operators, the owners, and the tenants themselves.
So there was a question, I think it was yesterday in one of the panels, or a comment that was made that smart locks, and I think smart thermostats was brought up, that they only create value for the operator, and it's hard to get the resident to see value in those. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think it means you have to be thoughtful and proactive about extending features, highlight features, and training features that your consumers can use.
Yes.
So they see that value. So what are some of those things?
So I would tell you that it is definitely, one, how you present that information to the user of the lock, but it's also what system you're choosing, right? So there are a lot of varieties. So you've got like RFID, you've got Bluetooth, some of the stuff is more like Z-Wave Zigbee, where you're tying into some of that ecosystem. But from a tenant's perspective, they can send a remote key through their phone to a friend that's coming over. If they have a dog sitter, they can send them a key. They can set the times that those keys work. They're locked.
Recurring or one-time
use, right?
So I'm thinking, because I think in every lease, there's usually a line that if you lock yourself out and we have to come and let you in, it's a $50 charge. So what if your marketing is, there's never a lockout fee. Right. There's never, that's another benefit that you need them to ask those questions when they're touring around before they even rent here of, ask everyone else what their lockout fee is. Mm-hmm. It's $50 and here it's $0.
And I like what you're saying is that now this is a feature that the consumer, the resident can use and may not have that at another property. And so they see value in, hey, this particular property gives me this value that I can share my key. It's easy. I can do it on my phone and my app. And
I would just tell you, you folks in the room, just think through the systems that you're putting in, because that's going to dictate what the smart lock can do. The smart lock is a bolt-on piece of hardware that works in tandem with the overall system, but some are more geared towards the operator owner and some are more geared toward the actual tenant, the user.
I'll mention one, as a homeowner, that one of the biggest values I got out of it. All the things you mentioned, but did I remember to lock the door? Did we,
Yeah.
did we forget to lock when we left? And not having to turn around, not ever having to worry about that. It's a lot of multifamily properties, you don't even have the privacy from a space perspective that you do with a single family. So that is a consideration for multifamily units. Did I remember to lock when I left?
Yeah, so you can be anywhere in the world and lock or unlock your door, and you also, depending again on which software platform you're using, you know exactly who's coming and who's going. They all have individual
It's
credentials.
great for keeping track of your teenagers and who's coming and going when you're not home.
And I think I've heard of some systems too where when you as a property owner are scheduling a maintenance person to come into that, it's also sending a notification to the resident saying, hey, a temporary key has been assigned to this individual for this task for this time period. So it keeps them in the loop as well.
Their exact time period, and that's the only time it'll work.
Yeah.
You have systems out there that will randomize the master code for them to get in. It's a one-time code. It goes away.
Every time.
Every time. Nobody knows what the code is before they get to the door.